Okay. My cat is currently sleeping on this chair. So now to the heart of the woman's message. She has gotten David where she wants him, and now she's going to tell him the real meaning, the real reason why she's here, the real message she's here to speak. The woman said, so she's saying here, verse 12, let your servant speak a word to my lord the king. Speak, he replied. The woman said, why then have you devised a thing like this against the people of God? So David is once again having his own decisions that he's rendered on behalf of somebody else thrown back at him. Nathan the prophet did this to him, and now this woman from Tekoa is doing it to him at the urging of Joab. Why have you devised a thing like this against the people of God? When the king says this, does he not convict himself? For the king has not brought back his banished son. Like water spilled on the ground, which cannot be recovered, so we must die. But God does not take away life. Instead, he devises ways so that a banished person may not remain estranged from him. So God's desire, and the woman is right when she says this, God's desire is not to banish people. He will banish people. He will do it. From the beginning to the end, he banished them from the garden when they first ate the fruit of the tree. From the beginning until the end, at the end of Revelation, it says, let him who is vile continue to do vile. Okay? Let him who is holy continue to be holy. Those who are going to be vile are going to be outside the city. They're never going to be welcomed in. So he will banish people. Okay? He will do it. He will do it. But his desire is not to banish people. His desire is to devise ways that banished people can be returned to him, that they may not be estranged from him. And now I have come to say this to my lord the king, because the people have made me afraid. Your servant thought, I will speak to the king. Perhaps he will do what his servant asks. Perhaps the king will agree to deliver his servant from the hand of the man who is trying to cut off both me and my son from the inheritance God gave us. So she's going back to that story again. And now your servant says, may the word of my lord the king bring me rest. For the Lord, my lord the king, is like an angel of God in discerning good and evil. May the Lord your God be with you. So she's trying to get him to realize that he's just convicted himself. If he's going to act on her behalf to restore this hypothetical, banished, murderous son, he needs to do that to himself as well. Then the king said to the woman, do not keep from me the answer to what I am going to ask you. Let my lord the king speak, the woman said. The king asked, isn't the hand of Joab with you in all this? So he sees through this. He knows who's behind this. My guess is that Joab has probably talked to David repeatedly over the last 3 years about this issue, and David just hasn't been listening. So now he's got a workaround here. He's figured out how to get to David by going through this woman from Tekoa. The woman answered, as surely as you live, my lord the king, no one can turn to the right or the left from anything my lord the king says. Yes, it was your servant Joab who instructed me to do this and who put all these words into the mouth of your servant. Your servant Joab did this to change the present situation. My Lord has wisdom like that of an angel of God. He knows everything that happens in this land. So Joab wants to change the present situation. This present situation is not good. And David has the authority to change it, but he has not been changing it. And Joab wants him to change it, so he has found a way. I'm assuming, again, he has probably spoken with David about this a number of times in the last few years. And it's never worked. David has not acted on it. So now he has found a way to get David to convict himself into acting on it. Sometimes you do have to change your circumstances. Sometimes you have to allow your circumstances to change you. But sometimes you do have to change the circumstances. Sometimes it is proper to change your circumstances, to seek to change your circumstances because your circumstances are not good and they need to be changed. And in this case, this is one of those times. Something needs to happen. This situation with Absalom and David cannot be allowed to stay this way. It's got to change. The king said to Joab, "Very well, I will do it. Go bring back the young man Absalom." Joab fell with his face to the ground to pay him honor, and he blessed the king. Joab said, "Today your servant knows that he has found favor in your eyes, my lord the king, because the king has granted his servant's request." Then Joab went to Geshur and brought Absalom back to Jerusalem. But the king said, "He must go to his own house. He must not see my face." So Absalom went to his own house and did not see the face of the king. That's another mistake that David is making here. Reconciliation is not going to be possible as long as Absalom cannot see the king's face. So even though, if anything, he's making the situation worse because now Absalom is going to be in Jerusalem, and yet he's still going to be in exile. So his situation is actually going to get even worse now because he's going to be in exile in the city itself. And this is probably the reason why the verse at the end of the previous chapter about the king's heart longing to see Absalom is probably not accurate. That verse probably should be rendered as though he's thinking about Absalom, but he's opposed to Absalom. I don't know the exact breakdown of the Hebrew terminology, but I did look into this, and it seems reasonable to me. I'm persuaded that this verse at the end of 2 Samuel 13 is probably not translated correctly in most translations where it says the king's heart longs to see Absalom. He probably was not, because he didn't. Okay, it's like even after bringing Absalom back, he did not go to see him. So it seems more likely that he was not longing to see Absalom and that he was thinking every day about the problem that Absalom had caused him. Joab knew that it was a distraction to David and that something needed to be done to change this. So he manipulated David into bringing Absalom back. But David still isn't seeing Absalom. He's still not recognizing him as... Absalom would be the first in line now. He was the third-born son. But Amnon, the firstborn, is dead. The second-born, the son of Abigail, was apparently not around. I'm assuming he likely died in childhood, because we never read about him. So Absalom is now the number one guy. And he is also the son of royalty on his mother's side, too. He's the son of David, and he's the son of the princess of Geshur. So he's double royal. So he has every reason to think that he's going to be the number one guy now. But David isn't doing anything to acknowledge him. And the longer that goes, the more the tension is going to build, and the worse it's going to get when it explodes, which is what we're going to read here. It's actually, I think, like I said a moment ago, sometimes we do need to change our circumstances. Sometimes we need to let the circumstances change us. But sometimes we do need to change our circumstances. In the Christian way of thinking today, a lot, especially in the churches that I've been to, we often think about letting the circumstances change us, and not trying to change our circumstances. And trying to change our circumstances is difficult, and it can be a control issue. Okay, it's like if we're constantly trying to change our circumstances rather than letting our circumstances change us, that can be a problem. It is a problem. But there are times when we do need to change our circumstances. David needed to change his circumstances. The circumstances with him and Absalom that are going on here are not good. They're not going to lead any place good. Okay, it's only going to get worse. As the situation continues, it's only going to get worse. And if David does not do anything about it, it's only going to, he could have done something about this all the way back with the rape of Tamar. Okay, it says in chapter 13, verse 21, he was furious. We don't read about him doing anything. Okay. He has not taken action to stop any of this from happening or to change these circumstances or these situations. And his inaction, his continued inaction, is just going to make the situation worse and it's going to make it drag on. It's going to be another couple of years, in fact. It's been 5 years already. It's going to continue on for a couple more years, even, before it just explodes. And then when it does, it's not good for anybody. And at the end, David's going to be weeping over another dead son. And all of this could have been prevented if David had taken action much earlier. So David did not seek to change his circumstances. He did not seek to alter his situation. And that led to just continued prolonged estrangement and strife and tension, and ultimately into a civil war, an explosion of hostility that erupts later on. And I think that, and I mention all this because, we have the situation with COVID going on right now. This is now January 9th, 2022. We've been dealing with COVID for 2 years. Okay? And we have not allowed the circumstances to change us. Okay? It's like we have not repented of any of our mistakes. We have not apologized for any of our misdoings or our mishandlings. And we are also not changing the circumstances. Honestly, we need to do both of these things right now. We need to be honest and humble and repent of our own failures and misdoings, our misstatements, our inaccurate predictions, our inaccurate statements, our misguided policies that have led to such destruction and suffering. We also need to realize that we can't change the circumstances. We can't get rid of COVID. We can change the circumstances, but we can't get rid of COVID. However, we can change our response to COVID. We can change our circumstances insofar as we alter the way we approach COVID. And we're not doing that either. So not only are we not allowing the circumstances to change us from the inside out, so that we see our failures, we see our follies, we see our foibles and our foolishness, and we address these character flaws. We seek to correct them, we admit them, we repent of them, we turn away from them and do something different, be something different. Not only are we not doing that, we're also not changing our response to COVID. We're just continuing doing the same thing that we've been doing, and we're going to be stuck doing it forever. It's like David here with Absalom. Because he never did anything to change his situation with Absalom, it just got worse and worse and worse for years. That's the way it's going to be with COVID, too. If we don't change our approach to COVID, we can't fix COVID. We can't get rid of COVID. It's obvious now that we're not going to do that. We're never going to be able to do that. So we have to change our approach to COVID. And if we don't do that, we just continue doing the same thing that we've been doing for the last 2 years, we're going to find ourselves stuck in yet another just endless wave, an endless cycle of just doing the same ineffective things over and over again for who knows how many years. Same thing like David is having here. We could very easily find ourselves in that situation. In fact, I think we are going to find ourselves in that situation. If we're not careful, we are going to find ourselves in that situation. I don't want to be in that situation. Okay, it's like I want to get out of that situation. I want to change. I can't get rid of COVID. I know that. All right, I never have said I can get rid of COVID. But I want us to acknowledge that we need to change the way we approach COVID. We haven't done that. We haven't allowed the circumstances to change us either. Like I'm like Joab here. It's like I want people to do something. I'm trying to get some movement, trying to get some action here. I'm trying to get people to change the way we approach COVID, and it's just we're not willing to do that. And we're also not willing to let COVID change us. So you know what? We're just continuing to get stuck in this cycle of just endless inaction and endless ineffectiveness and incompetence and impotence. And that's just how it is. Let's go ahead and stop there, actually.